Okay, great. Welcome everyone to the 25th Winner's Call, Engineering Call, whatever this call is. Here is the agenda. Sharing in the chat. I'm sharing with our friends on YouTube. YouTube, if you can, here, give us a confirmation. Great. So many of you were there. Many of you saw the fanfare on Twitter as we were hitting different milestones and accomplishments at the Interop retreat. And we just did publish a quick follow-up to kind of celebrate some of the successes and set the stage for things to come on the EF blog, which if you haven't seen it, there it is. Today, I know we could probably talk in the client updates about all the exciting things that happened. Instead, we will save that for Twitter, save that for individual blog updates, and for this blog post that we just posted. You can mention a little bit about what happened there, but we don't need to get into the nitty-gritty about all of the things. Great, so we will get started with testing. Let's see. So at Interop, we had, as you know, 3 or 4 consensus errors showed up, primarily, interestingly enough, I guess it isn't that surprising in retrospect, but they happened often on the epoch transition between 1 and 2, which is the first time you're doing, you have enough information to do updates with respect to the account balances. So we had a number of corner cases, little things, order of operations, and priority stuff that would leave us with slightly different balances. We captured a lot of those instances in this interop test cases repo that I just shared. Those are currently generally valid test vectors that you could run against your 0.83 clients. But as we make any changes to the spec, like removing a field or 2, which is on the list, these vectors will no longer be valid. So we're going to handwrite some tests that capture the complexity that's in those. But we did work through a lot of those at Interop, and I think cleaned up a lot of the cross-links and reward stuff, which is good. So on the list is to take those scenarios in that repo and create some handwritten tests. That's on my agenda today. That, along with updates to network spec, which were worked out at Interop, and a number of, actually I don't know how much is in there, I think it's actually very small, things to be released likely in the next few days would be that 0.84 with the updated network spec and some additional tests. Cool. Proto, do you have anything else you want to share on testing, or anyone else?
Yes, so during Interop, we made use of this tooling to do the state transition without running the full client, and it's really sped up progress and the time we needed to find these bugs. And so I want to automate this, and I started on writing this tool to trigger a state transition, upload it to the cloud, register it, fire events, distribute it, and then have each client or some sort of CLI tool run the state transition and upload the results. And so you can automate the testing and get a real fast result on how all these different clients perform a certain state transition. And hopefully the next step would be to not manually trigger this, but attach it to a testnet. And the goal of all of this is to automate the efforts we put in Interop and make diffing these post states really easy.
Right. The expectation as we make more test nets and more tests with different clients and different scenarios, we expect to still find some of these consensus errors and to capture them. So thanks, Proto. On the fuzzing front, we do plan on, in the next couple of weeks, reopen the differential fuzzer. Mehdi from Sigma Prime is going to be helping out with that effort. Take a look at the architecture, the goals, and I think we really are at a point in which it makes sense to begin integrating clients into the differential fuzzer. So more to come in the next few weeks on that. Great. We will move on to client updates. Today we'll start with Sigma Prime.
Hey guys. So I guess we'll make this pretty short. Everyone was at Interop. So at Interop, we had some successes, and Lighthouse kind of finalizes blocks with all the clients. So in that process, we also found a number of small kind of bugs that we still need to fix and some discrepancies between the other clients. So we've been working on that. We're focusing a little bit more on building. So over the last week since Interop, we've been adding some extra tooling for Interop testing because we found that during some of our testing, it would have been handy to have some of these extra functionalities to find some of the bugs quicker. We're also going to start focus on our discovery and making it interoperable with the Go one. So the Rust DISP v5 that we've built, we're going to start testing it with the Go one, which is inside Prism. And also we're finishing off some of the updates for the latest network specs so that we can start syncing and hopefully have some longer lasting multi-client testnets. That's it from us. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks, Adrian. Prismatic?
Yeah, so pretty much the same update as Adrian. Our top priorities are working on just sync resilience. We currently don't handle missing parent blocks very well. And also working on scaling validator count to 2024. We found a few BOS padding issues and then attestation handling logs issues. And then as well as updating to the latest network spec PR, which just got merged a few days ago. And then we're also working on SSC resilience, so we don't panic, do some fuzz testing on that and stuff. Working on test coverage improvement, doing some mutation testing. Also like at the end, also we're trying to clean up our package and documentations and make sure our matrix and monitoring framework are up to date. And that's it from us.
Great, thanks, Terrence. Artemis.
Hey, we since Interop, we've integrated JVM libp2p, and we've started working on our sync. We're just basically cleaning up some technical debt in the tests because we're kind of splitting towards Interop, and that covers it.
Great.
We're also updating Artemis to integrate handle.
Cool. Curious to hear how that goes. Thanks, Shahan.
Thanks, Joe.
And Lodestar.
Yeah, this week we've been working on merging in our interop changes into master, fixing those up. We're also working on some roadmaps for the next few months so that we kind of have a better sense of our priorities and what we're working on. We started also developing a roadmap specifically for like light client work. So we're just wanting to flesh that out and get started with it.
Cool. Thanks, Kevin. Trinity.
Sorry, I saying Trinity.
Trinity.
Oh yeah. So, so we've learned about many new issues during the interop that could be summarized into two things. The first one is the scalability that we are now focusing on making the internal test net to be more and more stable. and to organize the logs to be more structuralized, and also make a clear dashboard to monitor it. And the second thing is the ability of distribute the software and set up the client that Alex and Brian have made a doc file during the interop. Besides, we are exploring other solutions for the various different operation systems that if to support that different OS to install the Trinity software. And yeah, that's our updates.
Great, thank you, Xiaowei. Harmony.
Hey, is the other teams, we are doing some interop follow-ups, merging some stuff that has been some fixes and some new stuff that has been created during interop. Also, apart from interop, there have been an ongoing work on discovery. Dmitry has already almost implemented that. The only one thing that left is handshake and cryptography. Well, also this implementation doesn't include topic discovery. So it probably would make sense to do some tests and some integration tests with Lighthouse when we are ready. Also working on QA, doing some testing stuff. We decided to start work on the fork choice testing. Maybe we can do some work here and publish some tests that are useful for other implementations, because we think that fork choice is also important. That's probably it for us.
Great, thanks, Mikhail. And right, so Nimbus, most of them are on a flight, I believe. So from Mami, great interop. Thank you all especially to Joseph DeLong for organization. They're slowly merging back the interop branch into master. They've gathered a bunch of start scripts to start all the clients that currently live in their repo, although we were talking about moving something like this into the PM repo, which that was the next sentence. They proposed a common repo for this. The repo org could also be used to maintain simple chat apps, code, and running scripts to debug all the P2P implementations. Lodestar will be committed very soon. Artemis and Jasper are still missing. And they will see everyone at DevCon. Thank you, Nimbus. Great, and I don't believe Wei is here. Jasper Parody was not able to attend the interop event, but I know that Wei has been working through some pairwise interoperability tests. Last I heard, I know he did some work with Lighthouse and had, but was only on 081, I think, ran into consensus error, so then was updating the client to 083. But Wei will be with us in DevCon. Great, did I miss anyone? Cool. Research updates. Vitalik and Justin are not here. I know there's some busyness with DevCon coming up, and I know between Interop and some of this going on in Tel Aviv, the spec repo has been a little bit slow. There's some big PRs to merge and some last little updates to get in. A lot of the focus has been on ensuring that the phase 1 shard data chain spec is clean, and to begin to revisit a lot of the custody games. It's relative high complexity in the custody games right now, especially with respect to some of the corner cases and edge cases. So plan on giving that a lot of love in the coming month. Beyond that, I'm sure there'll be plenty of updates at DevCon. Other research updates?
On our side, no many changes, but we're looking at the integration of handle in Artemis. So I implemented a kind of proof of concept in Wittgenstein, the protocol simulator, and I will be working with the Artemis team inside Consensus, especially Shahan, on how to do that in details. And we're likely to work on this as well with the Quilt team inside Consensus. But it's more an implementation point of view. We're not changing the protocol itself.
Gotcha. Thanks, Nicolas.
Guys, excuse me. May I have a question to Nicolas?
Absolutely.
Okay. We've been looking into attestation aggregation a bit, and the thing that I not able to figure out is, for example, handle applicable to work in a P2P network, or does it strictly require a direct connection between validators and the aggregators?
It requires a direct link. So the way we see it, on the peer-to-peer layer, when the committee is established, people will be able to exchange, maybe with encrypted messages, what's the IP address of the aggregator they're using. And then there will be direct messages between those aggregators.
Yeah, I see. Okay, thank you.
Hey, Anton, sorry for butting in. There is a document that Nicola and I are working on, what we use it to synchronize asynchronously about questions like that. I can share that with you.
Yeah, could you please post the link to the chat?
Okay, sure. Let me find it and see if I can post it. Or if Nicola, if you have it handy, please go ahead.
Thanks. Musab, any updates on the K-Beacon chain?
Yes. So the specification is now almost finalized. All the tests pass, which serve as a very nice validation of the model. And right now we are doing coverage analysis. This is specific to the K tool we are using, and we are hoping that we get some kind of evaluation of the test suite and maybe suggest some other tests to increase coverage. And once this is done, which we hope is going to be sometime soon, we will be hopefully able to share this with everyone. So we are very excited to have this done once this is ready.
Thanks, Musab. And we've also been in some conversations figuring out next steps with the model, how to actually use it to verify some of the properties we're interested in, safety and liveness being the most obvious ones. But
right.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Great. Thank you. Any other research updates?
Short notes here. Where what could be really, really great is if from the K framework we can derive invariants for the fuzzing effort. If you can define these stricter rules to put on the fuzzing harness.
Was that a question, Proto? Or a statement?
Just, well, question would be, can we derive something like this from the current work, or could we work towards this? So it would really improve fuzzing.
Mm-hmm. Right, so Musab, the question being, can you use the K-state transition model to derive invariants about the state transition? Are you familiar with any work related to that?
Right. So I'm not entirely sure about deriving invariants. At least not with the current model. So this is something that I think will be possible. Well, not deriving invariants, but stating and verifying invariants would be something that would be possible with the next step developments.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Other research updates? Yeah, he wasn't.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
And it's not breaking up, is it?
sounds pretty good to
Because I
me.
have really bad reception. Great. Yeah, if anybody's interested, I can give some update regarding phase 2.
Yep.
So some of you may have seen that the Quilt and the Wasm team, some members of the teams also attended the intro. But we actually did a mini sprint prior to the intro, and then I think had some discussions at the intro itself. Now, in the past couple of months, the main focus for both teams were just to prove the core feasibility of the idea, and that really was focusing on two different efforts. One, having hashing functions and elliptic curve functions in WASM and executed through an interpreter. And the goal was to fit that into the execution time limit we have set. And the second work was relating having good schemes for marker proofs and marker witnesses. Obviously, we have looked into SSD partials, and we also looked into Alexei's multi-proof, which is in TurboGeth, if you guys have heard about that before. And there were also a couple of other new initiatives to have some, different schemes for marker proofs and witnesses. So many of these were implemented in different languages as well. Rust and assembly script are the two major ones we're looking at. And we had some synthetic benchmarks. And the end result of this work is that it seems to be feasible. The whole concept seems to be feasible. So we are kind of ready to move on to the next stage. And the next stage is to actually create useful execution environments and benchmark them as a whole. And the main execution environment, I guess, we're looking at is just a simple token transfer execution environment, because that's like the core function needed for a couple of other components as well, like the fee market. And lastly, I think in the past few months, the Wasm team was really focusing on what I just explained. And the Quill team was kind of also taking part of that, but they, at least Will was heavily focused in understanding relayer markets and fee markets better. And at the intro, we need to look at it more in an integrated manner, because they have a heavy influence on the design. So I think that's the next step for the two teams to work on that more closely. And the very last thing what happened at the intro was Vitalik came up with a new proposal for phase 2, and we spent quite a bit of time in discussing it with him, trying to understand it and comparing it to the current proposal. So yeah, it was quite a busy period, and sorry for the long update. Thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. And I know there's still a lot of questions out there regarding this. Some of that is because it's still heavily researched, but some of it's just because people don't have the information. For example, I haven't responded yet, but somebody on the Discord was just asking about the fate of the Eth1 chain and where it lies. And I think, although we don't have 100% the answer, the execution environments have a bright future for the Eth1 chain living inside of Eth2. But I'll respond to that on the Discord soon if anybody's out there listening. Cool. Is anyone from Quilt here? No. Okay, any other research updates before we move on? Great. On to networking. There was much work done on the network spec at Interop. A lot of this primarily had to do with the structure of the request response messages, or sync and all the related kind of sync messages, rather than the gossip and some of the other structures. So, Age, or someone that was in the weeds working on that, would you like to give us a quick on what happened there?
Yep, sure. So it was proposed that it would be more efficient and a little bit more general, that when we're requesting large amounts of blocks, that we previously the spec required like batched amounts of blocks. So we for long range syncing we had blocks by range is the new name of the RPC request, which you can request, let's say 100 blocks, and previously the request you would have to buffer this and get the whole number of blocks in one hit. Now you can effectively stream them through the network. So you send one block wrapped in an RPC response, and then another one, and then another one, and then until either you've completed the entire request or an error has happened. So this allows implementations to read a single block from the database, send it across the network, and do this as opposed to having to buffer large amounts of blocks. So that's the main change in the two RPC requests that required large amounts of blocks. So one was, we've renamed them. One is blocks by range, and the other one is blocks by route. So effectively, you can stream these things now. That was the major change. Yeah, so that's it in summary. If anyone else has any questions.
I have to ask, that code that you didn't want to remove and delete and rework, did you end up doing that?
Partially. I couldn't delete all of it, so I found a way to keep some of it. So there's we still, Lighthouse still does batches, so we can process blocks in batches, but we stream across the network now. Cool.
Thanks, Age. Yeah, any other questions regarding that? As I mentioned on the Discord, this spec currently lives in the V08X branch, and it's released into master and a minor release in the next few days. But if you're working on network sync, please check that out rather than the current one in the V083. Okay. Didn't I see someone from Protocol Labs here? Was Michael here? Or Mike here?
Yeah.
Oh, right next to me.
I'm here. Raul's on vacation this week, so I thought I'd step in and fill his place. But we didn't really have much of an update. I know some of the teams have been, the language teams have been making progress, which is great. But I don't know, they can speak to that if they want. The JVM folks, for example. But we didn't really have an update for libp2p like overall.
Yeah, that's good. And some work at Interop was initially just ironing out some of the idiosyncrasies between some of the language implementations. So at least on the, what we deem the Interop subset of libp2p that we were using, we do have general conformance and libp2p implementation talking, which is exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah, also about JVM libp2p, basically we are ready to release 0.1 version. I think it probably could be released already. I'm not sure, I need to reach Anton again. But the thing is about to publish artifacts and do some documentation cleanups, maybe I'm missing something else. Also, Shahan is working on the noise implementation, which is not required by this version, so we could release it like in the next one. Yep. So yeah, thanks Artemis for being the second users of the JVM libp2p. Yeah, that was very exciting to see that it really works. That's it.
Yeah, great work to Anton for getting that out so quickly. Cool. White Block, do you have any updates for us?
Hey, Danny. Yeah, I can give a quick update. I wasn't at Interop, so I'll just keep it short. This is coming from the team that was there. As most of you know, it went very well. It was super productive. We had Antoine, Renee, and Daniel there. They spent most of the week adapting the Eth2 clients to work in Genesis, white block Genesis, which is, for those of you that don't know, is what we're going to be testing the network at scale on. Like I said, it was super productive. But one of the things that, or two of the things that we weren't able to complete were prep for testing gossip sub per client, like what variables we can change, and also how to optimize gossip sub. So these are two big things that we're going to be attacking in the next few weeks. We'll be refining the test cases that were already developed at Interop from here on out, and actually starting to see how we can test them at scale. I'll drop that link to those test cases in the chat. And we will be presenting a near-term roadmap, medium-term roadmap externally soon as to what our methodology is going to be and releasing results once they're completed. That's it.
Great, thanks, Trent. Anything else to discuss on the network spec or things before we move on?
I should add, Antoine here from Whiteblock. Separately from this, we also study an effort with LeapP2P and Gossip Sub. So we have people from Protocol Labs, meeting with Proto as well this week. We're going to get started on implementing a Go-based client. The effort is open source, is under the Whiteblock repo for Gossip Sub-testing. The idea is to take up the work that we had done earlier this year and really prioritize it using a specific implementation of Go LeapP2P for it that we can really stretch and test at scale. So in terms of testing those variables for Gossip Sub, testing the behaviors, this is something that we're going to attack a lot more going forward.
Great. Excited to see how that goes. Thanks, Antoine.
Sure.
Okay, anything else on networking? Okay. Preston brought up what our next interop goals are before and after DevCon. This is something that I'm going to be thinking about a lot and organizing next steps with respect to public test networks and some incentivized test networks. We're not quite there. As you all know, there's a lot of work to do to stabilize clients, get sync in place, and things like that. But before we get there, we should start thinking about manual testnets. So also something that we need to be looking into the next couple of weeks. Any thoughts or comments on goals and next steps?
Yeah, I'd like to throw my hat in the ring to help with CI/CD from a Whiteblock perspective. So we can consume any new build coming in, and we can have a battery of tests for that. So I think we'd be happy to be involved and help the community in terms of maturing this effort.
Great. Yeah, I think I have a conversation with Zach today. We can talk about that too.
Cool.
Right, so I guess for the public, it's there are increasingly build scripts and things where you can pull down and do some demos, but we don't have any of these like multi-client testnets running yet, in which we were planning on supporting users and anything. We still have some things to do with respect to stabilizing and especially getting the clients conforming to the sync specification. Yeah, I don't know. Is Preston here? I don't think so. He had mentioned it. Oh, yeah,
I'm here.
There you are. Hey, Preston. Anything else that you wanted to add or talk about?
No, I was just thinking, DevCon's 3 weeks away, and we just all walked away from the interop with, a lot of really good milestones. And I was wondering, if we're had anything specific in mind for what we wanted to target in the next 3 weeks, and then of course, like and then Q4 is coming. So at Prismatic, we're just planning out the rest of our quarter. I wanted to hear from you or anybody who's interested what the specific goals were coming up.
Yeah, I mean, on my end, CI, network informants, mapping out a plan for public testnets and incentivized testnets. On client side, I expect kind of continual stability. I know some of us mentioned we had a big sprint to get to interop, but now we have a lot of things to clean up around that. And then I guess going into DevCon, have a lot of conversations there about things coming up in the next couple of months.
Okay, sounds good. I'll follow up with you offline.
Yeah, cool. Anything else on this? Great. Next up, general spec discussion. Any questions, concerns, things that you've run into that you want to discuss here? Cool. And general open discussion, anything that was not addressed that is worth.
For DevCon?
I do not.
Makes sense.
I do not have anything organized, primarily because we just had this huge meetup, and it seemed a little bit like overkill. There is, so day 1 of 4, day 1 is relatively light at DevCon with respect to some of the content, but there is a room that's dedicated to, I think the ETH magicians are organizing it, but it's kind of dedicated to working through a bunch of stuff, and I think there's an ETH2 section to talk to the community and a section to break out and talk about roadmap and planning. So I invite all of you to attend that. And beyond that, my expectation is to have a lot of organic conversations and meetings about what our next steps are and plans. I haven't planned anything for the day before, and I currently am not planning on it, but I'll chew on it a little bit today.
Okay, thank you. Also, the other question is, what about contract deployment during the DevCon? Do we have
the deposit contract, right?
Yeah, right.
The primary blocker on the deposit contract being deployed is the BLS standardization process, which, although has reached what is deemed a relatively stable place, the people are still working on early implementations and test vectors, and so from the perspective of the deposit contract, we can't reasonably deploy that until we have the standard, in case anything related to public keys and the required signature, initial signature, changed. So the current, almost certainly it will not be deployed at DevCon because of this blocker. And we're kind of in a, although it is moving fast for a standard, because there's a lot of demand from a number of blockchains that are involved, it's quite simply not going to be ready by October 10th. On this formal verification, that is complete. There was an issue in a Viper compiler bug, which I believe has been merged, and the updated bytecode has been tested and verified, but we're waiting on an actual cut release from Viper. But that's no longer seen as a bottleneck for this process.
Okay, I see. BLS stuff makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yep. Anything else?
I was planning on doing kind of a retro for interop if people who were there would like to join. I think maybe give some feedback. So when we do it next time, you know, things like maybe not make it 7 days kind of thing. Yeah, so that's TBD. I'll send out an invite. I'll probably drop it into the interop channel and into the sharding getter.
Great. Thanks, Joseph. And thank you again for organizing that. I think I said a number of times there I was a little skeptical, if that's the right word, of productivity and how it was going to go, but it was pretty unbelievable and got a lot done, so thank you for that.
And yeah, I'm just happy everyone came, and I'm happy that all the clients showed up, you know, kind of ready to rock. That was the big surprise for me.
Cool. I'm looking at my calendar, and looks like October 3rd is that's the 2 weeks from now. That is probably a couple of days before people are traveling. Shall we plan on meeting then?
Oh yeah, that's great. Actually, thank you. Yeah, October 3rd would work.
Oh, sorry, I meant about this call, but we can.
All right. I was like, dang, Danny's just planning it. Okay.
No,
cool.
no,
Yeah.
no. We should do your meeting maybe next week before then.
Sure. Yeah. I'll look
Next
at the calendar.
Next week's an off week. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you out there, but no. In terms of planning this meeting, I think the 3rd makes sense. It's not too close to travel. I think if it were a day or two later, people would be traveling. Is my intuition right that date is good? Great. Cool. So we'll plan on meeting in 2 weeks. Thank you, everyone. Keep up the good work. I'll talk to you all soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye bye.